So in 2020, my physique looked like the photo you can see on the left-hand side, flat and skinny. Now, as of filming this in 2025, my physique looks like the photo you can see on the right. So in this video, I'm going to give you, most importantly, the principles, because you have heard the tactics many of times before in order to get in shape. Many people have sold you, do this quick exercise, do this diet plan, thinking that is your ticket. That is not the ticket. I've been able to achieve 68 gorilla platoon transformations, which we are crystallizing with visible, clean-cut abs by developing their principles. This is broken down, if you're thinking, what does he mean by principles? This is broken down into, first of all, your mindset and how you see the approach. That then goes down into your habits on the day-to-day micro aspect. And then most importantly, it's about developing your character. It's about becoming the 2.0 version of you, not that skinny version of you, the jacked athlete version of you. So let's waste no time and get into the video. The first issue I had when I used to look like the way I did in 2020 was he was more of an instant gratification type of guy, which quite understandably, I wanted to get jacked, so I was in good shape, so I would gain more status and, have a better social life, which I think is a very normal, primal desire for a young 25-year-old man. However, that very mindset alone is the main reason you won't achieve the physique, because if you have an instant gratification mindset, you'll do whatever it takes to get there quickly. You'll be searching on videos on YouTube, the exercise that's going to blow up my side delts. Lo and behold, no set exercise is going to blow up your side delts. To be honest, they all work. You want to do lateral raises with a dumbbell, with the cable, with the machine, they all work. You want to do shoulder press, it works. The basics have been around for the longest period of time because they work. What you need is consistency, knowing you can do something for a long period of time. It's not a certain diet that's going to get you shredded. Like, it's not keto, it's not paleo, it's not high carb, it's not low carb, it's not none of those things. Like, any diet will get you shredded. It's whether you can stick to it. It's whether you can train consistently for 5 years in the gym to get big side delts. Anyone that's got a great physique tells you this exercise blew up my certain muscle group. They're pretty much lying to you, because the only way they got that is by doing it consistently for a long period of time. Now, the reason why I want to start with and explaining how delaying gratification is so important is this is a life philosophy that you will take into other aspects of your life. You want to view getting in shape like you were investing in your future self. Now, that's important for the first main reason that you won't take steroids. The pinnacle of instant gratification when we're trying to get in shape is, how can I get this as fast as possible? I'll take gear. And you'll do it. You won't do it in the safe way. You'll fuck up your health and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. So if you can watch this video and understand that that is not what you want to be doing, then thank God that it saves your health in the future, because that's the pinnacle. That's why I tell you, you need to frame your mindset from the off. This is not something you're going to do with one bulk. You're not going to do one bulk, one set of training, and in a year's time have the physique that you want. You'll be better. You'll be night and day better. For sure you will. But where you actually want to get to the level you have, or if you want to compare my photos, that's not going to happen in 1 year. So you must understand your mindset towards your whole life wants to be, I'm going to suffer today so my future self can enjoy the work. I will suffer today with the labor, he can go and eat the fruits later on in life. When you have that mindset for physique development, that will cross-deck into other areas of your life. If you ever try and rush the process of anything in life, trying to get up the ladder in your career, you probably missed out on the experiences you needed to get at that level. Try to rush it with attracting a partner, you'll just come across too forceful and you'll put her off. Try and rush it with physique development, ultimately you won't get there. The beautiful thing about physique development is it just humbles you very, very quickly. So the best attribute you can develop is having delayed gratification. Knowing that you are investing in your future self by just simply turning up and doing the work today. And why that's kind of good is you can make a few mistakes as you go along the way, knowing that you're figuring this out and that you're still putting the work in and you didn't expect to have the result already very quickly. So the first and the main thing I can tell you is don't expect to have it now, but do put the work in so that future you can really grasp a great physique. The second thing I wanted to mention was one bulk won't fix your physique. 3 bulks is what it's taken for me to get from where I was at that skinny level to where I am now. The overall scale weight difference is roughly around about 8 kilograms. 9 kilograms actually in lean tissue gained, which, yeah, that's kind of nice. Cool. Yeah, we've done 3 bulks with this. Now, this is the way I want you to approach it when we call it a bulk. The first thing I'll do, I said bulk because you will resonate with it, but what I want you to approach is it's either an improvement or a gaining phase. Now, when you go through this phase, you want to see yourself as an athlete. So everything you do wants to be geared around developing muscle. The same way a striker in a football team, everything is geared around how many goals he scores. The same way a sprinter, everything is geared around how quick he can run a certain distance. Yours is geared around muscle gained, and muscle gained is measured by gym floor performance improvement. So, if the pinnacle of building muscle is not calorie surplus, which many people think it is, the pinnacle is you on the gym floor developing stronger lifts. It's you getting stronger session after session after session. If you do that, you will build muscle, because fresh air is not building the new muscle. Is not moving the weight, it's your new muscle that is moving the weight. So we can establish that is important. So you need to think, well, how can I best set myself up so when I step on that gym floor, I'm ready to perform and I'm ready to beat what I did last time. First of all, you need to track what you were doing last time so you can make sure you beat it. But you would then think, right, well, I'd make sure I'm as well rested as possible. This is me making sure I've had 5 sleep cycles a night of 90 minutes a block. I'd make sure I've had adequate hydration and water, adequate salt, so my electrolytes are in good order, so that I'm not going to get any cramping. Make sure I'd had adequate nutrition. Now, what does that look like when you're in a gaining phase? Well, for sure, it is a little bit of a surplus. If you've got maintenance, you're going to sit just above it. Why? Well, you want to have just enough fuel going in to drive that performance in the gym. It's not the calorie surplus that builds muscle, but the calorie surplus will fuel your energy in the gym, which you then go in, use, and beat what you did last time to gain new muscle. And then, of course, post the workout, you will refuel from that nutrition as well. So that's why the calorie surplus aids in building muscle. But so does sleeping 5 sleep cycles a night. It's not those two alone that build the muscle. You have to physically go in on the gym floor and do the actual work. Like, I could plan as many YouTube video scripts as possible, but if I don't sit down and record a video, my channel's simply not going to get out to anybody, and this message is never going to be heard. It's the same way you can eat the best diet in the world, you can put the best fuel inside your body. You're not going in the gym and training with raw intensity to failure, then you're not going to give the body a reason to change. And that's the way you want to view your training as well. You're trying to force the body to do something it's not done before, so it needs to acquire new muscle. That's Progressive Overload 101. So make sure you're tracking your numbers in the gym so you know what you need to improve, and make sure you see everything else outside of the gym as you making sure your performance is as good as it could be on the gym floor. You're going to need to do this 2 to 3 times to really get the physique that you want to. So we're going to want this, by the way, to be as long and drawn out as humanly possible. So the third thing I'll mention is you're going to need to cut even when you're not big. The first example I added this was after the first bulk, and actually was transitioning from moving up my career in the army, where I'd been a British paratrooper and also part of the army's physical training corps. I actually moved to Dubai to work for a gym there that taught me pretty much everything I know now regarding body recomposition. And when we got there, I got there in the August. In the November, they were running a gym team photo shoot where everyone had to get like shredded inside and out. And I actually never got shredded because I always started lean anyway. But after conveniently starting this journey of bulking, they said, right, well, you need to get shredded, you need to diet down. I was thinking, I'm not really very big, I've not got hardly any muscle at all. But actually what that taught me was that even if you're not that big, you'll still need to go through cutting phases, because you can only accrue so much body fat before you're too soft, before you're not as responsive to the way your body was eating and utilizing carbohydrates through insulin. You're not as effective with your training anymore. So what a cut will do is it will re-wipe the slate clean. You'll be able to drop off that body fat so you can be more efficient in the way that you're going to be using the food. But also it lets you see the work you've done in the gaining phase. If you always stay in a surplus and higher body fat than when you started when you were smaller, you're never going to know, did you truly build good quality muscle? Or are you just bigger because you're technically carry more body fat? So the beautiful thing about doing a cut is, once every year, if you've bulked for a solid 8 months, you've got too high up in body fat, let's say around 16, 17%, You know you need to cut back down, but you're also going to cut back down to the lean level you were last time. And you're going to compare your photos, and obviously scale weight will tell you as well whether you made good improvements. Because if you didn't, you need to go back to the drawing board and think, why didn't I make good improvements? Why did I not? What was wrong with my training? And we'll come on to that in the next insight. The one thing I will tell you though is when you go through this phase, and I made a full YouTube video on this, because you're not massive, but this, to be fair, this goes across for everyone, even if you've got a good amount of muscle. When you're getting lean, you've got to get flat to get lean. And flat means the muscle itself is not pushing tight against the skin. Essentially, you've been depleted from carbohydrates for a consistent amount of time. And carbohydrates plus water inside the muscle is what makes the muscle push tight against the skin. The analogy I'll give you for this is, imagine we had a plastic water bottle and we emptied out some of the water and also pushed out some of the air and then put the lid on. You can move the water all around, can't you? And it's kind of like squidgy. That's what your muscle is like when it's not full with glycogen and water. However, if we filled it back up with the correct amount of carbohydrates to put glycogen, I always say glycogen, I mean glycogen, into the muscle, plus water, it's going to go like the water bottle is hard and tight, like when you first bought it. This is a plastic water bottle analogy, of course. That's what it's like when you replenish. So you're going to need to go through that phase where you feel flat as a pancake, but as soon as we run a refeed and a high day, you're going to fill back out. So why I make that point is a lot of people will not get as lean as they should because they quit because they feel skinny. It's not that you're skinny, you're just flat, but you need to get flat to get lean. So just remember that when you're going through your next phase. The next insight that I wanted to drop is the way you lift means absolutely everything. People say technique, but I always used to hear this, oh yeah, technique's important, but like, no one ever really broke that down to me what that truly means, and it wasn't until I actually went to that gym in Dubai where they really broke it down for me. So when we say technique is everything and the way you lift is everything, it breaks down into 4 set categories. You've got, first and foremost, the actual arm path of the exercise itself. Now, this can be understood from what muscle are you trying to train, where does that muscle start and where does it insert onto? So let's say you're trying to train your pecs. Most people think push the load up and down like this. But it's not really an up and down movement because your chest starts here by your sternum. It's going to run across your rib cage. It's going to insert here onto your upper arm. So if it starts here and finishes here, is it really an up and down movement? Or actually, do we need to bring the start and the finish point together? So actually, we're going to think of converging our upper arm across our body. We're going to think about bringing our bicep towards our pec. The same way if it's the lats start all the way down by your hip and then they'll insert here onto the back of your upper arm. So if we're training our lats, we need to think about dragging our elbow towards our hip. We're not thinking about pulling the bar down with our hands and bending at the elbow and trashing the bicep. We're thinking dragging the elbow towards the hip, bringing the origin and the insertion together. And you don't need a science degree to understand this. It's just, well, there's the body part. Where's it start? Where's it finish? I'll just bring the two together. When you understand arm path, you're going to be able to really target the working muscle because a lot of people will go into the gym and move weights on a certain exercise for the sake of doing the exercise. They'll do the bench press, i.e. push the weight up and down for the sake of pushing the weight up and down. They'll do the lat pull down for the sake of pulling the weight up and down. That's not really the way to look at it. The exercise is your tool to put mechanical tension on that muscle to stimulate it and to make it grow. So whenever you're training, think, am I actually using the working muscle to move this load? Because I'm trying to move the load so I get muscle tears and growth. That's the way you want to focus on your lifting for the first point. The next thing is, and to be able to achieve this, slow it down. This is known as tempo. So if you're on a lift, don't think about just coming up, down, up, down, up, down, and the hardest part being the way back up. Think, if we are looking to really target the chest and use correct arm path, we're going to think, right, well, we need to come down slow. So we're going to come down 3, 2, 1, we're pulling our pecs apart, pausing for a second at the bottom, then we're driving back up. You do that across all movements, essentially the eccentric, or as the muscle gets longer, it'd be this way on the way back up for a lat pull down. If we think about slowing that down for the eccentric portion or the lowering phase, we're going to be able to get more gains out of the exercise. If we pause in between the lengthening and the shortening of the muscle, we're going to be able to be more intentional with the way the movement goes. Whereas if you go fast down, fast up, you're not really going to be able to be accurate and intentional with that arm path. But if we slow it down, you are. We speak about range of motion, and that's essentially go as deep as you can through the exercise. So don't do a half squat, go all the way down. go all the way down with your bench, with your dumbbells, don't come halfway down. Because more distance traveled is more mechanical tension you can put on the working muscle. Get those 3 things right first over the next 2 weeks of your training. Then the last thing you want to dial in is your intensity. The way you measure intensity is by your last repetition of the set should take you 3 to 4 seconds to contract that working muscle. Not 1 or 2, which is 1, 2, like it was in the first rep. It's 3 to 4. You should be absolutely gassing out, trying to fully contract that muscle, because that's how you know you've toasted the muscle off. Now, that is if you've been training like 18 months plus, that's important. If you're fairly newer, you training within a 1 or a 2 rep in reserve is going to be okay. The problem is if I say train 1 to 2 reps in reserve, people will finish with 5 reps in the tank. If I say train to failure, people will still leave 1 or 2 in the tank. So we always need to kind of offset for that. So that is the way you're going to lift in order to develop and grow muscle tissue, which is mission critical for you actually gaining muscle and not just thinking I'm bulking. No, you're an athlete that is looking to improve his performance in the gym and lift more load with those 3 variables we spoke about. The last insight I wanted to give you is, and I can kind of tell you this from working the dots backwards, the best way you will actually be able to execute on this, because you could say the first point is more of a mindset principle, the next 3 are more tactics I've given you in order to get in shape, which absolutely are needed with their own principles inside. But this last thing I wanted to leave with you is probably the most important part I'll leave you within the video, but notice how I never say that in a video. Stick around to the end and I'll drop my last important point. It's like, shut up, mate. Just fucking give me what I need to know. The way I want you to frame all of this is, don't think about growing muscle. Think about the man you need to become and think about the 2.0 version of you. The way you want to see this is, you are not you trying to get jacked, because if you were, you'd have already done it by now. So you need to think, right, well, who is this 2.0 version of me? Who is this new character? And it goes for a physical and most importantly though, like when I speak about your character, that's your character is like how well you can take abuse from your friends. Your character is how well you can deal with setbacks, how well you can deal with stress, how well you can see like a negative thing and turn it into a positive. That's more your character, and that's very, very precious. Of course, when you think of the 2.0 version of you and the character version of you, I want you to put like what scale weight you want to be at 10% body fat, and that's going to be your overall target you're going to aim for. But when I speak about developing your character, on this journey of getting that physique, you're going to develop the soft skills of your character. This is your ability to delay gratification to become that person. Your ability to stick to one thing for a long period of time. Why is that important? Well, if you find something you're passionate about and you make a career out of it, you stick to that for the longest period of time, you're going to leave everyone else behind because you had one thing you were passionate about, you set your life to it, and you didn't stop, and momentum will carry you through to the top because you were consistent on one thing. You could stick to one thing. The same goes for a significant other. In today's society where people don't stick around in relationships longer than 5 minutes, if you can find someone you like and you devote your life to them and stick to them, that's very valuable and very, very precious. But just this one trait of the gym, which you've learned this trait from the gym and built in the physique, you can use that in other areas of your life. The same way you're going to need to be resilient. There's going to be times where you don't feel like training. There's going to be times where you don't feel like cutting and you want to go out and eat food. But you're going to need to be resilient. You're going to need to stick to your guns and push through this. The resilience is going to be needed in other aspects of your life. And of course, you're going to need discipline. You're going to need the discipline to say no to foods when you want to eat out. You're going to need the discipline to train when you don't want to train. Discipline is going to be needed in other aspects of your life. So while you're going to get the jacked physique, you want to really use the physique as actually a vessel to become that better 2.0 version of you. Because we know it wasn't about the physique. It was about what the physique meant to you. It's the fact the physique has value because no one can give it to you. You can't buy it, you can't rent it, you can't outsource it. It's a direct reflection of the work you've done for yourself. That's why it has value, that's why you wanted to get it. And because that's what it had, that's why people respect it. And you wanted to get in shape so we could be liked and respected by other people. And that's not a bad thing. And you don't have to disagree with me because it's probably true. People think we don't want to get in shape for other people. Well, we're human beings. We're social animals. We want to be part of a community and something. And if that means that like getting in shape is the reason to do this, I think, and you get healthier and stronger, I think that's a pretty good, strong reason. And people shouldn't really tell you otherwise. That's my view anyway, and you can like it or lump it. So it wasn't about those things, it was about what it got you. So why not use the vessel of getting the physique to really develop your character, which, yeah, we can get the physique, but you also want a good career. You also want to, have given good value to the world. You also want a nice family. Let's use the physique to get the other areas as well and develop the vessel. Use the physique as the vessel to develop the other areas of your life. So that's my take on how I went from skinny to getting jacked. If you found it of value, great, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to come join us inside the Gorilla Platoon, there'll be a link below. Just watch the video, and if we're for you, I'll see you on the inside. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.